In this video, I wanted to talk about both the Croods movies from DreamWorks as well as Moana 1 and 2 from Disney. I want to talk about which of these franchises I prefer, and actually, for me, this is not hard. It's pretty easy, actually. I prefer the Croods movies. I really like both of them. They have really good animation. I'm a fan of the voice acting in these movies. I like the idea that you're following these cave people. They're living in prehistoric times. First movie's about them meeting this guy whose name is actually Guy. You have this family of Croods, this family of Neanderthals, and meet Guy. He tries to lead them to a new land. The daughter of the two parents is interested in Guy. The parents are more suspicious of him. They aren't as welcoming. And then the second movie, we see how things have evolved, where Guy and the lady, I can't remember her name, they now are together, but we see that there's insecurity on the dad's part. We see him go on a journey of learning to overcome that. We see how the family of Guy, they don't really like Guy's girlfriend. They don't really like this cave lady. They want their son to be together with a different girl who they like more and thus approve of. So we see them go on a journey of learning to warm up to this cave family. They learn to understand these people who they just look down on really at first. I like the arcs that you have for the characters in Croods too. I think the growth works very well. I like the action that you get in these movies. There's solid humor in here. There's solid emotion. There's a solid emotional core to these movies. The journey of the Crude family. When it comes to Moana, I like both Moana movies. I think that Moana 2 is just a perfect example of a good but not great sequel. Good but distinctly safe sequel that gives you more of what you liked from the first movie. I like spending time with these characters, spending more time in this world. I think Moana 2, very good animation, voice acting is really well done. I don't think that any of the characters are bad. I like all the characters. I like spending time with these new people from the island, seeing their different personalities. I like seeing more of Maui. But does Moana 2 do anything that's all that interesting? Does it really have anything fresh to offer? Is it that memorable of a movie? No, it's really not, to be honest. I mean, I like the fact that by the end of Moana 2, you see that the islands are connected now. All these different people from the seas are meeting new people that they were cut off from previously. That's really nice. But I think that with Moana 2, you can feel that this was originally a TV show that they then converted into a movie. You have these big stakes because we learn that if our heroes don't succeed in their mission, then everything will be over. Their story will end. But the movie doesn't explain why their story would end, why this would be the end of everything, just says it. And also, well, I think that all the characters are good. You have all these people that are on the boat, but they don't really have much to do in the third act. It basically becomes the Moana Maui show again. You have just you people on the boat that are helping to steer the boat so the boat doesn't crash, so they don't sink, but they're not really doing too much. So I think Croods 2 is obviously a better sequel than Moana 2. I find Croods 2 to be more interesting, more memorable, and thus I feel like I have more to say about it. I mean, I like that with Moana 2, you have that older guy who's a pretty non-warm. That's not the right way to phrase it. He's pretty grumpy at first, and then he learns to be a bit less grumpy as the movie goes on. You see that especially at the end. And then you have that guy who's very much a fanboy of Maui. That was pretty entertaining. And you have the lady who's very skilled with creating stuff, but doesn't always know when to use that. Doesn't always know when it's the right situation. We see growth on her part. Oh, I enjoyed Moana 2. I had a good time with it in the theater. I wasn't bored with it by any means. But how likely am I to rewatch Moana 2? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to rewatching it, but to be honest, there are other animated movies I would prefer to rewatch. I would say Croods 1 and 2 are more rewatchable for me than Moana 2. I really like Moana, the first film. I think the journey that our main character Moana goes on is really good. There's memorable songs, top-notch animation, great voice acting, solid humor in there. I like the dynamic between Moana and Maui. So I think that one did a good job. And Disney got a bit lazy with Moana 2. That's the thing for me. Like, was the movie terrible? No, obviously not. But could it have been better? Yes, I think it should have been better than it was. It just ended up being a fine, passable movie. But frankly, I don't think that's good enough. Especially because Moana 2 made so much money at the box office. It's like, well, Disney, if you're going to put out a movie that makes this much money, you should make a movie that's more fresh, more interesting, more memorable than Moana 2 is. I'll wrap things up for this one.